Where is Similog headed? What in time will it turn out to be? What is the undiscovered part of the horizon? Well, it's pretty hard to enlarge on something that you've not yet discovered, so I don't really know the answer to that question. As long as I've been working with it, it keeps getting more and more articulate, more and more applicable. I find more and more instances of its application. It's really very broad in its application. But among the things which interest me most have to do with the crystallization of subgroups. We don't know very much about that from actual observation. What are common patterns of polarization and unification, or arrangements of subgroups and their sizes? We really haven't very much information on this, and how they crystallize and how they change over time, because once you get a crystallization into this caucus and that caucus, or this party and that party, or this subgroup and that subgroup, or this clique and that clique, then you have the dynamic relationship of subgroups to each other and not just individuals to each other. And the individuals in a given subgroup, there is some tendency for them to unify more closely. That doesn't always occur because every subgroup has got all of the same problems that we've talked about in general. You can measure their values in terms of the 26 vectors, and you'll find that they have subgroups, and they have conflicts, and they have leadership, and they have resistance to leadership, and they have differentiation of roles. And they sometimes, like our present Republican Party, they hardly hold together well enough to be called a political subgroup. But there are other factors which tend to draw them together in spite of internal conflicts. The internal conflicts in the Republican Party at the present time are staggering. But I imagine that if we really tried to get to the conflicts and describe the conflicts of the Rainbow Coalition, we'd find something about as complicated. The point is that we're now dealing with societal dynamics, large-scale negotiations and readjustments and struggles of whole segments of a population with each other. And that is why it's relevant to that this kind of analysis is extremely relevant, I think, to political leadership. And yet we have not done any particularly notable work yet in studying these larger scale subgroups. I have the notion that if we really tried hard and wanted to go in that direction, we could probably interest one of the large polling organizations in doing some work with us in predicting the kind of things that politicians want to know. We haven't done that. We're sticking with our the active population we have, business groups. But I don't think business groups are basically very much different than the large scale in their conflicts and so on, and the large scale ones. But I wish and hope that at some point we will be able to do more work with complete organizations than we have thus far done, and begin to get a handle on the new problems, insights, and methods that will present themselves as we begin to deal with the larger scale phenomena.